Hey guys, today I want to talk a little bit to you about camera settings. You may have seen my previous video about buying your first DSLR, and I mentioned that that was one of the main questions I couldn't answer honestly because there is no real answer to it. Now here's another question that I get asked all the time. What settings should I use? Now I don't mind people asking me this. When you're a beginner it's really confusing. You've got all these different numbers in your head and you just want to know how to capture a really good photo. However, I can't answer that question because it basically boils down to the light that you are in at that precise moment, in that second, in that 100th of a second. You could be stood in the same place and take a photo of exactly the same thing within 2 minutes, and the light could be different and the settings would have to change. So if you ask me what settings should I use to shoot my son in a football match, I can't tell you because the light is going to be different. And also, if he's running, it's going to be different than if he stood still. Settings on a camera are an ever-changing thing. You can't just set a specific shutter speed, aperture and ISO and expect it to work for every situation. It just doesn't work like that. The three have to change in conjunction with each other to compensate for the different light levels and the different creativity that you want in your photo. If you're shooting a landscape and you want as much in focus as possible, then you have to use a narrow aperture or a big aperture with a big number like f8 up to maybe f16. If you want to capture fast action, you have to have a fast shutter speed, say 1/100th of a second or faster. Now often, certainly in the UK at least, you cannot have f16 and 1/100th of a second. The light is just not bright enough in this country to get that. So you have to compensate. You either have to raise the ISO to get a faster shutter speed to allow you to use that aperture, or you have to lower the aperture to a wider aperture, say maybe f5.6. Aperture, ISO and shutter speed are all related to each other and one has to change if you change the other one. So if you ever leave me a comment saying what settings should I use for such and such, please don't be offended when I tell you I can't answer you. It's just that it doesn't work like that. You have to be in that very moment to see what the light is doing in order to be able to choose a setting. Don't worry about using manual mode and trying to set it up all yourself at this point in time. Learn the functions of the camera first and learn how to read the light. Use either aperture priority or shutter priority, or if you want you can even use P mode, and that will help you get well exposed images but still give you a little bit of creative control. If you're shooting a landscape, I recommend probably using aperture priority because then you can change the depth of field and get more or less in focus, and the camera will sort out the shutter speed for you. If you're shooting fast action or people running around or dogs or cats or anything like that, then shutter priority is probably better because then you can set a fast shutter speed and the camera will automatically choose the best aperture. So don't try and run before you can walk, just take it steady, learn what each function does and how it correlates with all the other functions, and just keep on shooting, keep practicing. That's the great thing with digital, is you can just shoot and shoot and shoot, it doesn't cost you anything, and review your photos and look at the settings that you use on that photo. Most photo editors now will show you what settings you used on that photo, and you can see that when you used an aperture of f8 so much was in focus, when you used a shutter speed of whatever it was blurry or wasn't, and that will help you learn exactly what your camera is doing and why it's doing it. I hope that makes sense guys. I didn't want to get too bogged down in technical things here. I just want to explain why I can't give you settings for certain scenarios. I can give you ballpark settings. If you want to capture fast action, I can tell you to shoot at a higher shutter speed. If you want to try and blur motion, I can tell you to shoot at a lower shutter speed. If you want a big depth of field, I can tell you to shoot a narrow aperture. If you want to try and isolate a subject and have the background out of focus, I can tell you to use a wide aperture. But that's pretty much as far as it will go. I can't be any more specific than that, because it's just impossible. I hope this was helpful guys. If you like this video, please check out some of my other ones, and if you like those it'd be really appreciated if you subscribe and if you could like this video as well. If there's anything else that you want to see or that you want to know, don't hesitate to leave a comment, and I always try and get back to everybody if I see your comment. So take care guys, and I'll see you all soon.